Welcome to Mountain Man John's control centre. I've got a bit of video today I was going to show you. You might have seen a clip just then. Basically 2002, I think, maybe 2001, I had, after a couple of trips to the Alps and getting the bug, I decided to do something I'd never done, and that's try and do a decent sized peak solo. I had a window of opportunity and what I thought was the right weather right at the very first weekend of October to go over on the plane to Switzerland and attempt to go up the Monch, which is a relatively straightforward climb, although it's not to be underestimated just because it has an extremely narrow summit ridge, and you need it to do it solo, especially my competency. You need to be pretty have just the ideal conditions. Anyway, so I got on the plane, turned up, and there'd just been a little tiny bit of fresh snow. It was very cold, which was fine. The cold was a good thing. And yeah, I went up on the train to the Jungfrau. I trekked across the glacier and I went to the hut. When I was at the hut, there was one chap there on his own because it's out of season. He said, "Are you here tonight?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Oh, it's going to be really busy." And we were sort of passing outside, so I really didn't think much of it. But then, anyway, I made my attempt on the mountain, didn't do specifically that well. As you can see from the clip, it was a glorious day. I had a really good day. I got up the scramble, I got up the first couple of little ridges, and well, basically the summit ridge starts with a steep section and then onto the thin ridge, and I found what looked like wind slab, and it just didn't feel right, even though there was a good coating of snow all the way up the ridge. Not being roped up and being on my own, I felt quite vulnerable, and I'm sure some competent mountaineers would have just gone up. Yeah, maybe other competent mountaineers wouldn't have even attempted it in the first place, but I was being very cautious. I just wanted to get in that environment on my own and see what it was like. But when I was sitting on the ridge soaking up the sun, knowing I was going to go back down, there was a lot of helicopter activity, and over on the Jungfrau I could see 10-20 people and helicopter landings and taking off, and this happened for a few hours. And anyway, when I got back down to the hut, I found that they've been filming Touching the Void, and it was actually the scene where he falls on the rope and when the rope gets cut, and they had a couple of cameramen filming from the bottom, from the top. One of them was in the shade for hours and hours and hours and got hypothermia. He had to come into the hut and get upstairs into a sleeping bag. But yeah, I had time. I met a very famous climber that worked with TV a lot, Dave Cuthbertson, and chatted to a few people and saw them looking at the clips they'd done on the laptops. So it was quite interesting. The hut was pretty full, and they even said to me, "We're filming some crevasse scenes tomorrow if you want to come and help dig holes." But I had to go, so I left them to it. So that's my claim to fame. I nearly dug a hole near a crevasse for the making of Touching the Void, but I didn't. Here's the shot of me, Nigel and Mark, the first time we did it. that was our first ever 4,000 metre peak. Pretty straightforward really, but it was a big thing for us because we're not guided, and yeah, here's a shot when I went back years later. I don't know, it was 2000 yeah, can't remember the year. I'll put it up on the screen, but this is me and Hamish. Hamish had not been there. We did a few different things in this area a few years later, and Monch was one of them. So we went up there again. So that's twice I've been to the top.
I can't see what's on the screen, so
beautiful day again, absolutely stunning. Me and my mate Hamish are going out to the Alps shortly. We're going to hopefully do some via ferrata, and we've got at least one rocky peak that looks really interesting to get up, a bit like last year's Pic de Coulage, which have a look at. It was amazing. It's one of my favourite mountain days for a long time. We didn't even have to rope up or anything, it was just a scramble all the way up, so take a peek at that. See you on the hill.